So today I'm going to be reviewing the new Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wands. I was just about to place an order for the Pillow Talk shade on the website when these showed up at my door unexpectedly. So I'm really excited. You know, if you're new here, I have a hard time with cream blush. My face eats cream blush. I apply it and it's gone within 10 minutes. You can watch a ton of videos on my channel where that happens. So I'm typically a powder girl for that reason, but these are matte and they're supposed to be really long wearing. So maybe I'm the perfect person to test this out and see if it really is a long wearing formula. And if you're new here, I'm Kate. I tend to look at products through a somewhat critical lens to help you save money. You know, I would rather convince you why you don't need to spend your money than why you do. And it also helps me maintain a smaller collection for a YouTuber. And that way, when I love something, you know I really, really love it. So I'm very picky about what makes it into my final collection, and we'll see if these do. So let's talk about the claims on the website. It's actually really hard to read. I don't know if you can see this, but every other word is in all caps that it's like kind of alarming, but I'm gonna try to wade through the way that they talk here, and they basically say that it has an easy to use magic cushion applicator. These matte blush wands are infused with light reflecting pigments to effortlessly glide onto the skin with a smoothing, soft focus finish for a beautifying pop of color. Before I start applying them, I just wanna talk about the price. These are $42 and you can get these 3 shades on Sephora, but Pillow Talk is exclusive to the Charlotte Tilbury website. And I've seen a lot of people complain that this is $42, and I just wanted to highlight that if you're just looking at a product's price, it may not give you the full picture. Compare these to the Rare Beauty liquid blushes, which I think are probably a good reference point that everyone can understand. The Rare Beauty liquid blushes are 7.5 milliliters or 0.25 ounces for $23. And these are 12 milliliters or 0.4 ounces for $42. So you're getting almost twice the amount of product for almost twice the price. So it really just kind of depends on what your budget is. Do you care about having more product, or do you want less product at a cheaper price point? What I'm trying to highlight is basically like, if you just look at the Rare Beauty blushes and the Charlotte Tilbury ones, it looks like this is astronomically more expensive, but price per ounce, it's actually a lot more equal than you would expect. And there's just a tiny bit of a markup for, you know, the Charlotte Tilbury luxury brand. So just something that I wanted to call out that I noticed. I'm gonna apply the shade Pillow Talk, which is my favorite, and I'm gonna use a Sephora Pro Foundation brush number 47. I just find that it's my favorite to apply any kind of liquid or cream product. And to use this applicator, you basically just twist it to the right, squeeze out a little bit of product, and then I like to immediately twist it back to the off position. Otherwise you can get too much and it can get really messy. This Pillow Talk shade is like medium pigmentation. I will share that all of the shades have a completely different level of pigmentation or sheerness, and maybe that's by design according to your complexion. I'm not so sure, but you can see there is a little bit of a translucency to this. There's a sheerness that I find makes it really easy to apply and look really skin-like. This is definitely my favorite shade of the bunch, and so I do think for me it would be worth it. If I hadn't received these in PR, I would have purchased it on my own and been very, very happy with the outcome. I mean, we can all agree, like, that's really pretty. It looks beautiful. There's a little bit of a light reflecting quality to it, like they say online, so that while it sets down, and these set, like once they are on your hand, they are matte, they are budge proof, they feel completely dry to the touch, but there's just a very subtle amount of like light reflection going on. So even though this feels almost completely dry, it still looks very skin-like. So that's one layer, and I'm just gonna do a second layer so you can see what it looks like built up. And I just find this really, really easy to use, this particular shade especially. But because these do start setting quickly, I would definitely work one cheek at a time. As you can see, it's really easy for me to apply, and it's not like it starts getting patchy. It doesn't dry down too fast at all, but I wouldn't go in and do like both cheeks and then wait while one's drying. It could probably get a little bit patchy that way. So definitely just work one cheek at a time. And after I finish talking about the formula, the textures, everything like that, I'll do swatch comparisons on my hand, and I'll show you application clips of every single shade. So that is 2 layers of the shade Pillow Talk. As you can see, it's like a really beautiful kind of muted rosy mauve on the skin. It definitely warms up versus what it looks like in the tube. I think it's just a perfect skin-like flush. Definitely one of my favorite colors. Now let's talk longevity. I did a wear test of this for 2 days because I didn't want to give a first impressions. I really wanted to understand the formula before giving anyone my final thoughts because it is a more expensive product. And I can happily say this lasted all day. This lasted through a sweaty workout. It did not budge. It blew my mind. I mean, I never have this experience with liquid blush blushes with any kind of cream product, they always just slide right off my face and disappear, and this does not. So for me and my own preferences and budget, I would happily pay the $42 for this blush if I hadn't received it for free, but I probably wouldn't purchase the other shades, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Moving on to the hand swatches, this is what they look like on the back of my hand. This is the shade Pillow Talk, which again, I'm wearing right now, and I would describe as like a muted rosy mauve, and it has medium pigmentation. The next is Pink Pop, and as you can see, it is very sheer and very light and very peachy. It is not pink to me whatsoever. It might be described as a light peachy pink, but really I think this is just a light peach. I'm pretty disappointed that this isn't pink because I love pink blush and I would have loved to see an actual pink from this formula. This one is also incredibly sheer, which I'll show you in the application footage in a bit. The next is Peach Pop, and I would describe Peach Pop as like a medium peachy orange. And this has a medium level of pigmentation, a hair more pigmented than Pillow Talk. And lastly, we have Dream Pop, which is this bright cherry red, like a hint of pink in there, but mostly a bright red. And it has the most pigment out of the 4 shades. So in terms of the sheerness or the pigmentation, it goes Pink Pop, the most sheer. Pillow Talk has a little bit more pigment. Peach Pop has a little bit more pigment. And then Dream Pop has the most pigment. Not sure if that's by design or not, but just wanted to call it out. So here are swatches of the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wands after they have pretty much almost finished drying down. You can see they're mostly finished drying down, but those are heavy swatches, so they're taking a while. And as you can see on my hand here, these dry down to a totally matte dry finish. And although the swatches look a little bit patchy or a little bit chalky, I find that that absolutely does not translate on the face. They look really beautiful and really smooth when they're on your cheeks. Now let's move on to the application footage of each shade. This is the shade Pink Pop. As you can see, it's not very pink. It's very, very light, very peachy, very sheer. I was really surprised when I saw this because I saw some other influencers apply this one and it looked like a bright pink on them. I don't know if I got a dud. I'm not sure if anyone else's looks like this, but mine barely shows up. And this one reminds me the most of the Charlotte Tilbury Blush Wand in Pinkgasm. This is 3 layers of product on my cheeks and it barely showed up at all. It was very, very confusing. So Pink Pop really reminded me of the overall pigment and like sheerness of the Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand in Pinkgasm. And I'll insert a clip here of me applying Pinkgasm so you can see why I didn't like this product. It's just super sheer. It didn't show up on me, but because it's also a highlighter, it was just building up that highlighter quality and getting really, really shiny without adding any more pigment. And it says on the product that it's a high blush. So it is supposed to be a blush and not like a tinted highlighter. So for me, the Beauty Light Wand like blushes are a total pass, and Pink Pop is also a pass. But if you want something that's like a light peach color that's super, super sheer that you can practically apply in the dark, then you might like this one. Moving on to Peach Pop. Peach Pop is that kind of medium peachy orange shade, and it's almost as pigmented as Dream Pop, not as sheer as Pillow Talk, somewhere in the middle. And I find that one layer is perfect for me. I'm just not a peach girl. I don't love the color of orange or peach on me, but it's a very beautiful shade, very beautiful product. I can see a lot of people really loving this one. And lastly, we have the shade Dream Pop, which is that kind of bright cherry red, and it is super duper pigmented. Because of that, I found that it was a little bit more difficult to apply. It was a little bit patchy, as you can see here. It just seemed to dry faster, or maybe because there's more pigment, it was just a little bit harder to blend. But I think if you had deeper skin, it probably wouldn't be an issue and it would blend really seamlessly into your skin. So I can only speak for myself and my own personal experiences. I added a second layer just to see what it would look like and how it would build on itself. And I definitely had a little bit of trouble getting it to look super smooth like the others, I think due to that, level of pigment. But I thought 2 layers was pretty, and I do really, really like the color. It's the kind of shade that I might sheer out with another product like, my In Beauty Face Glaze, or you could mix this with the other Beauty Light Wands or the highlighter. You could mix it with a moisturizer. So if you really like the shade of Dream Pop, but you're like hella pale like I am, you could totally just mix it with a moisturizer and it probably would be great. I just got Dream Pop all over my pants because I swatched these on my hands and I completely stained my sweatpants. So heads up. So let's talk packaging. I do not love the packaging of the Charlotte Tilbury blush wands or Beauty Light Wands. I know that they say this cushion is magic, but it literally does not do anything good for this experience. Like, yeah, it applies the product, but you don't want to blend with this cushion because it's just going to keep adding more and more product. And the mechanism gets really, really messy. If you look in the caps, I barely squeeze any product out and the caps get super messy. And then when you put it back on, some of the product can get around the outside. So I absolutely hate the packaging. I wish Charlotte Tilbury would update this because everybody hates this. Everyone I know has like totally shit on the contour wand. The Beauty Light wand's not as bad because it's more sheer, but I just don't understand why she keeps launching products with this packaging. I mean, if she put it in a bottle with a doe foot like the Rare Beauty blushes, I feel like everyone would be so much happier. And I also think it would look more luxurious. Like this to me does not look like a luxury product. So I always get annoyed with Charlotte Tilbury because the colors are so fantastic. I love so many of the brand's formulas, but man, when it comes to paying, $42 for a product, which is, her typical price range, you want the packaging to feel nice and luxurious. And her packaging is always really like cheap, thin plastic. So that is the one con of the brand for me is I always get annoyed with their packaging. But honestly, the fact that this is like one of the only cream blushes that actually lasts on my face and it looks beautiful and skin-like and it's easy to apply and blend. I mean, I'm thrilled, and that would really just be the only factor that I dislike about it. Since we're on the subject of the Rare Beauty liquid blushes, I just wanted to sort of mention the comparisons. I would say that the Rare Beauty formula is way more pigmented than the Charlotte Tilbury blush wands. I think that the Rare Beauty ones were just too pigmented for my personal preferences. I tried the dewy and the matte finishes when they first launched, and I mean, that doe foot applicator is like kind of big, and so when you put one dot on your cheek, all of a sudden one dot is way too much. So I didn't get along with the Rare Beauty blushes, but that doesn't mean they aren't a great product. Like, they are more inclusive because they work on a wider range of skin tones. They're actually going to show up on a lot of people. And so I think there's 100% a place in the market for that. I'm just not the kind of person who really wants that kind of product. So for me, these are actually a better option. If you think that $42 is just too much, but you were like me and you really didn't like the Rare Beauty blushes because they were too pigmented, I do have another option. So I just got these in the mail this week. They launched at the same time. These are the Coolfee Mendy Moment long lasting or long wearing radiant cream blushes. These also completely dry down to a matte texture and are budge proof. These have more pigment, but not as much pigment as the Rare Beauty blushes. And the difference is these have a very thick cream formula that's super, super smooth, and they have a tiny, tiny bit of a pearl running through the formula. So it just makes it look a little bit more skin-like and not like super matte. And these come in 5 shades and are only $28. I think the Coolfee ones are a really good deal, and I find the formula really easy to work with. If you want to see a review, I will link on the screen a YouTube short where I applied and reviewed all 3 shades. And that's it. That's all I've got for you. I hope that was really helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'm happy to help. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow. And wherever you are, hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.